are subscribing. I love y'all so much. It's so fun, and this is something I want to do. So I really appreciate you all tuning in and supporting my channel. Once again, even at my home church, a lot of my church family are like, oh, I'm watching the YouTube channels, and or the channel, not channels, but the YouTube channel, and I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. Please, please, please keep liking, keep commenting. I've been responding to some of your comments and interacting with you, but please, I want those likes. I need those likes so that we can get more attention to this faith-based channel, just to show the world that it's possible. So this is too a way you can let your light shine by helping me carry the message and just simply showing people that it's possible to love Jesus, but to have a balance and to remember yourself and just to have these inspirational tips. I hope you're loving them. I hope it's helping you. Share it with your family and friends and all of that. I'll say this again at the end of the episode. But today's episode is about life hacks, which is you as an adult, things that you just have to do. Y'all know I'm all into self-care, which I have an announcement to make to let you know about my journey and the things that I'm doing, but I'll do it next time. Just give me some time to at least get started with it. But anyways, here's life hack number 1. Use a to-do list. So this is one thing that I have inspired my sisters. I call them my sisters, a part of the sister mentorship program, and we are creating a heavy bond. Like, these are long-lasting bonds, but I've encouraged them, and even my team of gals that are amazing. Shout out to DGP and KCS team. Love you guys, and 1160. But one thing that I've challenged them to do is to set to-do lists. Use your task list. Now the task list in the iPhone, shout out to Apple, but the task list in the iPhone, they have made it so that you can actually have a to-do list and you have the circles to check it off and all of that. One thing that I've done is I'm prioritizing now. So I'm literally saying what I've committed to and saying yes or no to people and going by what I already have planned to do for my day. And you know how sometimes you have to get back to people. So a lot of us are running our businesses. Maybe we're starting off our businesses. Maybe we're the receptionist. Maybe we're the graphic designer. Maybe we're the website designer. Maybe we're updating our stock. So one thing that we have to do so that we're not overwhelmed in the beginning stages, which is something that I've done, is to set a to-do list and to literally have that visually in front of you so that you can see what I need to knock down. Knock it down. Get it done. Do not procrastinate, and I'll talk about that because that's another life hack. But literally set it before you and just say, hey, this is what I got to do. Now, the way I prioritize is I set the easy tasks at the beginning, so that I can just knock it down and everything else is at the end. And I'm getting it done in that way, because the other thing that we have to consider, or that I've had to consider, is to make sure I am integral in my dealings. Because when you give someone a pleasurable experience, they're gonna wanna come back and give you your money. Just remember, as you are, an employee, an entrepreneur, whatever it is that you do, always keep in mind that you too are a consumer. What experiences cause you to go back to certain companies, and it's a pleasurable experience. Make sure it's easy. So one thing that I do is I'm always like, okay, I can't leave no money on the table. I gotta respond fast. It's always somebody else out there that can do something that you're doing. Don't miss the opportunity by being slow and just carrying a nonchalant attitude. So these are things that I've had to challenge myself on and kind of had to just be like, okay, pull it together. And this too can be a part of your to-do list. But the to-do list too is, if you promise to get back to somebody by the end of the business day, try and get back to them sooner. And that will help if you have it on your to-do list and you're knocking these things out. Also, it kind of helps you to eliminate stress. So it's almost like the process of elimination, and it has helped me tremendously. And of course, now that the team is on the same kind of agenda and we're still rocking and rolling the same way, we kind of can toss things at each other and it's just moving and rocking. So got all of that. Speaking of procrastination, resist it. What the Bible say? Resist the devil and it'll flee from you. That's so ugly. Resist procrastination, because when you procrastinate, you give yourself room to rethink and reconsider what God maybe has placed in your heart. And the goal is to always, if God gives you something, sometimes our delayed response is a form of disobedience. And sometimes it's showing God that, you know what, God, I don't all the way trust you with this idea that you've given me. So we want to show God that I'm ready, because the more we show him that we're ready, the more opportunities he'll give us, and he'll show that, oh, you know what, I trust you with this because you responded the way you did the last time. So here you are. great example is Abraham in the bush, where he told him, I think God told Abraham to kill his son Isaac. He gave him detailed orders, detailed instructions, and anybody else would be like, why would you give me this instruction to kill my son? But he trusted God and said it must be a plan behind it, and he made sure he had a strategy too with setting it up. And there it was, a ram in the bush. There was God providing just because he was obedient. And not just that, it was also a test. Let me see how ready you are to obey me no matter what it is. So what if God is testing you, and if you're procrastinating, he's like, all right, you already ain't passed the test because you ain't complete number 1 on the test. So go for it. Don't procrastinate. Go after it. Don't give the enemy room to come in and cause you to rethink or reconsider any of your ideas or your dreams, your gifts, your goals, and all of that. Go for it. Just go for it. And I have been in this space lately where I'm like, hey, I want to try it. What's wrong with failing? When you fail, that's still a form of excellence or success, because you have the opportunity to see that this is not for me. So at least you get an answer out of it. Maybe it doesn't feel so good. It may be embarrassing, but at least you're not wasting time on something that is not for you. So I hope you're inspired to not procrastinate, to go for it. Don't let nothing stop you. If you have an idea, start activating a plan, activate your faith, and just go after it. Resist procrastination. The next thing is life hack number 2. Get your rest. So one thing that I've noticed too is, I'll give you an example, which goes back to saying no when you have to, and just kind of looking at your schedule, looking at things, and just making sure everything makes sense. So we are to be career driven. One thing that I've learned is knowing the difference between money moves versus career moves. Shout out to Dr. Holly Carter for that tip. And she always encouraged me, literally people that I work with, I call them aunties and uncles sometimes, and I make them into that because I turn them into my advisors in my village. And so one thing that I have learned from Holly is, Kierra, it's okay to take some free opportunities because sometimes they are setting you up, and that's very true. So speaking of this, it kind of helps you evaluate your time, but leading into my point, I was just in London and I had to do some work. I had to respond to some people. I had some weird experiences, but it all worked out well. And one thing that I noticed is that I was exhausted because the flight was delayed. Somebody was rushed off to the hospital. We had to stay on there, so I missed my connection and all of this stuff. So I literally missed my flight, so I ended up having to drive from Toronto, Canada, back home because it was my father's 30th anniversary. I wasn't missing that. That's a milestone. That's my daddy. Y'all know how I am about my daddy. We go hard for my daddy. And so I just wasn't missing it. But one thing that I was noticing is that when you get your rest, you'll be able to move and just think fast, like what I need to do. So once I noticed that the flight was delayed and I was going to miss my connection, I was thinking ahead of the game. So when you get your rest, you're restored, you're rejuvenated, your creative juices are moving like they should be. You're not as snappy. When I'm tired or when I'm hungry, I'm snappy. I'm attitudinal, and sometimes that can turn off your opportunity. And then one other thing that I have been doing since I've gotten older, I've noticed my mom, she always woke up early. I'm like, why are you waking up so early? And sometimes she would tease me as I was getting older, and I would say, oh, I'm waking up early. Well, go pray. Go ahead and say a prayer or something. Maybe the Lord's trying to get you to start a prayer life. So that's one thing. But one thing I did notice too is while I'm praying over my day, so when I wake up earlier, I'm also getting the scope of my day, hoping to wake up earlier before the team and just strategizing and saying or seeing that these things need to be done so that I'm not thinking of them after the day is finished. I'm actually sending them emails and say, hey, when you return, try this, try that, and all of that. And then too, I have my to-do list and my people to text message or to send an email to, and it's going to be in their email box or on their phones at the top of their day. So it's not me having to wait for another business day. So that too is why it's important to wake up in the morning. Plus, you get refreshed, you get to think clear and just really spend some time with God, which I can say my best days are when I start them with the Lord. So I think, what does the word say about early shall I seek thee? Let me give you a scripture. Y'all know I like to give you biblical references, so hold on. All right, here's a scripture. Psalms 119 and 147. I rise before dawn and I cry for help. Every day we need God's help. We can't do it alone. And then it says, I wait for your word. So literally in the morning, I'll get up, just kind of browse my phone. I'll say a prayer. Lord, give me direction, blah, 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 blah. And I'm literally waiting for his direction. Bring me the opportunities. Bring me the resources that I need. Show me how to deal with it. Prepare me as far as my attitude and whatever it is. And when I'm well rested, I'm not worn out. But I was talking to you about London because though that was me traveling in on Sunday, I still had Monday to go. So I was working over the weekend, but I had to keep it rocking for my team to inspire them, not just to inspire them, but the other people that are supporting me. I can't let them down. And we'll have our days when we're not 100. But when I am tired, I don't feel good. I'll have headaches. I don't feel like it. I'm very cloudy in my mind. I'm not clear. So this is just me. I don't know if it's for you, but hopefully you're inspired to just make sure you get your rest. When I don't get my rest, I also don't sing well. So shout out to the singers that are watching, the musicians. But when you don't sing, when you don't rest, it's not always I've been singing too much and I'm hoarse, but it could be simply that my body is tired. And because that's your gift, that's your tool, you got to protect your paycheck. And sometimes protecting your paycheck or protecting your gift is just you simply just getting the rest that you need. So say no when you need to say no. If you're overwhelmed, be honest about it. And there's a way to do it and be honest too. Like, I would appreciate if you tell me up front, I can't do this, rather than you taking the job and then you let me down at the end. So don't do that. Get your rest so that you can think clearly and actually say yes to the career moves and not always the money moves, but things that will set you up futuristically. All right. But here's another scripture. Oh, and the other thing is, when I was traveling from London and I was just super tired and super exhausted, I had to push myself super hard. Of course, I prayed, said, Lord, I need your help. But you just want to be in this space where it's just like, I'm ready. Like, let's get it. Like, you got to be ready. I was watching a video by Diddy and he started slamming phones. It was just like, I'm going to do this. Like, I'm ready for it. This is mine. And I think that's the attitude and the disposition that we should carry, especially when we're going after or ready to receive the promises of God. It's almost like if you receive a Christmas gift, how do you respond when you receive it? If you just nonchalant and you seem like you don't want it, it's like, no, do you know what to do with this? So I guess that's the question here, and I feel like the Lord has been dealing with me. But once you get it, do you know what you're gonna do with it? Are you gonna sit with it? Or are you ready for it? Like, are you really ready? So that's the question. So make sure you're well rested and you really know what God is giving you and putting in your hands, because I'm getting ready to see something I've never seen. All right. This is good scripture. Good scripture. Mark 1:35. We want to be like Jesus, right? We're trying to practice Jesus. But it says here, in the early morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, he left the house, and he went away to a scheduled place and was praying there. Listen, Jesus had a schedule. You better create an itinerary for yourself. So this goes back to having a to-do list, avoiding procrastination, making sure you're rest, and waking up in the morning. Because listen, the enemy is always looking. What does it say? He looks around like a roaring lion. What does the scripture say? Hold on. 1 Peter 5:8. It says, be alert and of a sober mind, meaning God to be rested, don't be intoxicated. Then it says, your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. So if he always on his job, what job you want? Make sure you on it. All right, moving on. Don't forget about yourself. That kind of goes with rest. Do something for you daily. Make sure you set time aside. Kind of goes together. So that's another life hack. I don't want to be redundant, but take a trip. So what I've done is, I was supposed to work in West Africa and I've been wanting to go to South Africa. So I told one of the promoters I'll be there, and I set time so that I can go to South Africa prior to, which the flight was shorter and it wouldn't have taken like a 15 or 20 hour flight all over again. So literally I made this trip into Kiki time and it was still work time. And I was able to go from this amazing experience in South Africa. Literally I did a mini tour. I had gone to Johannesburg, Cape Town in South Africa, and then I think we went to one other place. And then we went to West Africa, which is Nigeria. So it was super fun, a great experience, but the time was so necessary and I felt rejuvenated. I was ready. And it inspired me with just designs and just bringing back some culture to some of the projects that I was working on. So definitely have the time for yourself. And I'll come home. Y'all have seen me talk on the couch here, but I'll literally just sit there and lay on my back and just look at the ceiling. Sometimes that's all you need to do. And it's like so good. But moving on. All right, here's the last life hack. Live within your means. So I don't know if you've watched, create a playlist, by the way, of Catching Kierra. One thing that I did talk about was budgeting. I don't remember the name of the episode, but you'll be able to see it. But I am talking about just budgeting. My grandfather has taught me, if you get $1, keep $0.25. I think I talked about in that episode how I gave up the Range Rover and I went to the Tahoe. My Range Rover note was like $800 a month in addition to the insurance from my driving record. Pray for me, it has gotten better over time. And comparing those prices though, now my car note is only $200. And my daddy set me up to where he had me, put your deposit down so that you don't have to be stressing about it. And one other thing that he's taught me is to stay ahead of your payments. If you have a little extra cash, stay ahead of it so that you just ahead of the game. So living within my means, and there are some things that we can afford, but that doesn't mean that we always need it. And so one thing that I'm doing is I'm budgeting tight. If there are some things that I want, I'm always thinking about, what, do I want the Gucci bag or do I want inventory for $11.60? And maybe you don't have to worry about inventory. Maybe you got to worry about equipment. Maybe you got to worry about some things that you'll need for your company, or maybe you just have to worry about setting aside a budget for your me time. So those are things and tips that I have applied to my life, and I'm seeing that it works. I definitely give God 1/10 of my increase. And I think because of that, because I'll say it felt like a hole in my pocket. Anytime it feels like I'm in a dry season, I'm always noticing that I forgot to pay my tithes, because I pay my tithes electronically. So that's another thing. I'm always giving God his 10th, and then I'm paying myself. Like I said, if you get $1, keep $0.25, and just check out the video. That will give you a reason to go back more into Catching Kierra and getting those tips. So I love y'all. I hope you love it, and I hope it inspires you. Thank you again for tuning in to Catching Kierra. Please continue to share this with your family and friends. Subscribe, click that bell, like the button, do all of that good stuff, and share it with somebody. And if you're on Instagram, please use hashtag Catching Kierra or Kvlog. I love y'all, and please tune in next week. Mwah. Who that is, huh? Could put my sister